Just, there you go. Okay, so yeah, so we're back here. It's been a while that we haven't done a community of practice. I know some of you have already attended. What's happened here? Okay, I know some of you have already attended previous community of practices, but for some of you, this is the first time you're here. So I'm just going to quickly go over what it is that we're trying to do here and kind of refresh our memories from last year's community of practices. And more people are joining. Great. Okay, so today's agenda. We'll start, like I said, with a quick recap of what the water media community of practice is, what it is that we're trying to do. And then we'll do a bit of an icebreaking activity. We won't really have time to do the whole round of introductions. From experience, I'm sure you know that that takes up a lot of time sometimes, and we're working with limited time today. So we'll then move on to our guest speaker today, who is Muna Dajani from Yarmouk Futures. And you can already see her here, and Muna will talk to us about the Yarmouk Futures research project, which some of you might have already looked at in the email I sent to you. And then we're going to use that research as an example for a fun and interactive activity that we will do in breakout rooms, where we will be looking at different, drawing from your own experiences, and exchanging on knowledge. We will try and look at effective ways of reaching audiences, things that have worked in the past, things that haven't, how to work with certain environmental content, depending on what your audience, what your target audience is. But I will explain the activity in more detail later. So we will work in two separate groups. And then after the activity, we will come back to plenary and we will just do a bit of an exchange on what each group discussed, what findings we found, and then finish off with a general discussion around, things that you've been doing, things that you would like to share with the community. But for all of this, there will be some guiding questions, so you won't be put on the spot. We'll give you a bit of time to think about things you might want to share or talk about, and then talk about the future COPs and other opportunities. So, why are you here? Like I said, some of you have already got experience attending the water community, the water media community of practice, but for many of you, it's the first time joining. So if you're here, it's because we've identified you as someone who is very committed to improving the state of the environment and water resources around the world, and especially in the MENA region. We also think that you believe in the transformative power that journalism and communication has. And we've seen you as a very committed member who works well as part of a community and who can benefit from exchanging with like-minded people, and someone who also, again, very committed to enriching your professional skills and knowledge on an environmental and journalism level. And you're also very open and eager to exchange ideas and work together to improving the state of environmental journalism, specifically in the MENA region. So if all of you tick all of those or some of those, then you're in the right place. So what is the Water Media Community of Practice? It's a community made up of professional or aspiring professionals in the media communication and water fields, who share a passion for promoting sustainable water management and cooperation in the Middle East and around the world. And we all come from different parts of the world, but we have this joint objective of fostering knowledge and information sharing in the Middle East, and Northern Africa. So we have, in some way or another, a connection to the MENA region. And previously in CoP meetings, we've covered topics from how to report on sensitive topics such as gender in the MENA region, the role that media can play in improving accountability in the water sector, writing about menstrual health, new approaches to reporting, and so on. And today we have yet another topic, which is how to address different audience segments. So our team today, I'm not sure Hannah if she is here yet, but she will join us very soon, is Hamza that you'll know from Konrad Adenauer Stiftung, Hannah, and myself from CWAS. Okay, so before I introduce you to our guest speaker, let's just do a quick warm-up activity. In the chat, can you write down any challenges that you have encountered throughout your career when trying to communicate environmental stories? They can range from, challenges in trying to find reliable resources, in finding the right language to communicate certain things, just anything that you feel you struggle with or you've struggled with in the past. If you can type it down in the chat, I'll give you a few minutes to do so. Even if it's not specific to the environmental sector. Mm-hmm. Lack of information seems to be a recurrent theme. Okay, I'll give you one more minute and then we'll go over them quickly. Great, you can carry on typing them if they pop up in your head, but there seem to be a few recurrent themes. One of them is translating complex scientific information into accessible content for readers, and the other one is a lack of available information or reliable sources. Then we also have getting people interested in long form writing. Yeah, I think this is one of the issues with our short attention span as readers. Readers don't seem to be very committed, or it's difficult to get them interested in longer pieces. Please let me know if I'm not interpreting these comments correctly. And environmental issues overshadowed by more important problems. Yeah, I mean, now everything right now people are talking about is Ukrainian-Russian tensions, and obviously no one has any time between coronavirus and that. Now environmental topics won't even make it to the headlines. And so yeah, how do you as environmental journalists wiggle your way through that? Approaching interesting mediums, changing it in qualitative data. Yeah, again, very important, lack of information. Yeah, and understanding as well science. So some of you might have a scientific background, and therefore it's easier for you to understand the content and interpret it into more into simplified language. But if you don't come from a scientific background, I mean, I know it from myself. I come from social sciences, so there's a lot that is out of my depth. So it takes a lot of effort to really understand it in order to then write about it. And yeah, make scientific information appealing to the general public. Great observations here. Thank you very much. We will go back to that, but for now, we will introduce you to our great guest speaker today, Muna Dajani, and she will introduce herself, because otherwise it's just me talking for ages. So I will hand over the floor to Muna, who will tell you a bit about herself and her research.
Hello everyone, thank you Cora. مرحبا بالجميع. Really happy to be here today and really excited for this session, and hopefully we'll also get to know each other in different sessions and ongoing discussions. So basically my name is Muna and I've been researching water in the Jordan River Basin for the past, I don't know how long now. I think the years have passed a lot, but more than 10 years of working in the region on water research, water politics mainly, and policymaking. And throughout that time, I've moved from being like an engineer, basically graduating from Birzeit University in Palestine, to kind of moving throughout my academic career to becoming like a human geographer. And a researcher interested in kind of the everyday politics of water, how communities make sense and value of water, and why is it important to include it as an equal, if not as important aspect of knowledge production. So it's not only the science that we produce about water management or environmental conditions, it's also, how people relate to it, how people value it, in order to make sure that water is being used efficiently in order to reach sustainable modes of consumption and use of water. So in a sense, yeah, like that's how I've got interested in that, and more and more interested in like the important role of media, of non-scientific avenues of promoting and producing knowledge. And I'll speak to you a bit about our experience in the Yarmouk Futures program that we have been working on for the past few years. Should I go ahead and start, Cora?
Yeah.
Okay, so I won't speak for long because I would like to also have like a very engaged conversation. So let me know if I take too long, get too excited with details. But basically, we have been working in the Yarmouk River Basin. The Yarmouk River is a tributary of the Jordan River Basin. And I'm sure that if you are interested in water, environment, you know how the Jordan River Basin usually makes headline news, right? Like it's always somewhere in the news. It's always about the contestation and the conflict over water there. It's with what we call like over-politicized and over-securitized river basin. In my approach in the project, what I've done is to kind of reflecting on this Yarmouk River, the actual river, how it flows, which communities does it reach, which communities are not allowed to use it anymore, how does the political economy of water work for those communities that have relied on it for so long, that had relations with that river for so long, and now they don't. So I tried to kind of work with a great team that are more focused on international relations, let's say water diplomacy and water modeling, GIS mapping, So we've got like technical team, and we've got the politics team and a policy team. And in my work, I try to include always the history, like talk about the history, expose it, see how it is, the legacy of colonialism, for instance, is still very much there in the way we manage water, in the way we value water, in the solutions we propose for water problems. So for instance, in the Jordan River Basin, we can look back 100 years like we did in our report and see that the same logic still persists until today. It moved from colonial powers, the British and the French colonial power, to nation states and to occupying states like the State of Israel, who continue to treat water as a resource to be harnessed and controlled, to be exploited, and to increase its availability through different means of technology. And here we have very problematic approach, right? Because water is not just a resource, it's not a transactional type of commodity. It has values, it has meanings. It makes a difference, I guess, for you, for me, and for a lot of people living in the basin, where our water comes from. The fact that I want to access the Jordan River, I want to have a connection with that river. That is not really measurable in terms of value, economic value, but has like non-material value that is not easy to measure. And it's not easy to even like let go of. The Yarmouk River is the same, and other water bodies that we live around are really have a lot of what we call value laden. They're really full of value, meaning history, spirituality, religious importance. So when nation states try to make water all about commodification and the fact that we need to build bigger infrastructure to build to harness more water, to distribute that water for use that is not sustainable, like extensive use in agriculture in all of our Arab countries, in the Jordan River Basin, in Syria and Jordan. The exploitation of that water by military occupation is all, of course, not very sustainable. But we build, what we call a narrative around this, because the Jordan River Basin, the Yarmouk River Basin are known to be these very hotspots for conflict, and where we try to do agreements and we have water agreements between countries that are really not working. In our work, we really assess those agreements based on data, based on archives, based on historical analysis. We look at the agreements, we look at them from a water diplomacy lens, see what an ideal agreement looks like and how the current agreements fail on every level to do so. And we also kind of look at GIS mapping, we look at aerial photography and a lot of remote sensing to kind of figure out the data that we're missing, the scientific data you all mentioned in your comments. How can we make sure that our policy making, our recommendations, our science, our evidence informed and science informed? So we've been working for many years on the Yarmouk project. We did produce like a 200-page report on the hydropolitics of the Yarmouk River Basin. However, we found out that we're not reaching the audience we want, right? We want to engage the community in these issues, but we want to provide them with this evidence-based analysis and recommendations so that journalists, bloggers, writers, artists can engage with that material in different ways, transform it even. So we started as an academic project and as a policy project to talk to decision makers, of course, to do training sessions with water practitioners, to kind of start the wheel going. But another thing that always comes to mind is that, okay, again, we're talking to the same people who are in power, yes, but who are so also disattached from communities, from media professionals, from journalists. So how can we move beyond it? And what you said is really important. Somebody mentioned that, oh, the environment is only important when there's a big event, when there's CoP 26, for instance, this last year. Or for instance, in the case of the Jordan River Basin, when Jordan decided to stop its lease of lands, Jordanian lands, to Israel, and it reclaimed that land back. There was a lot of interest from journalists, but none of them actually said anything useful about, okay, so what happens next? What about the water agreement? How can we make it better? And how can we achieve more water rights for Jordan? So these discussions were very limited, and we want those discussions to continue. So that's one of the challenges we have been doing. So we produce a lot of material. We do, as I said, maps. We tried our luck with infographics for a while that also kind of rely on science, and our work in hydrology, hydrogeology, on like analyzing infrastructure and their impact on the water use. We looked at the agreements themselves, because as much as we think people are talking about the agreement, let's say between Jordan and Israel, on the water part of the agreement, people don't know the details of it. So we try to kind of produce this very simplified documents to explain what was it about, kind of the context, and then what is the problem with these agreements. So all of this is based on research, based on evidence, and based on scientific analysis. So that kind of was a great step. But again, we find that we have these documents and they're not shared enough for journalists. The second step we did, which is in the last 3 years of work, is to develop two main aspects of our work that's more geared towards the community, which is a series of video clips. Each will talk about one character from one inhabitant of the basin who has a very interesting story, compelling, attachment to the region, to the resources. And if you had the chance to look at the videos, I hope you agree, like there's a lot of really interesting reflections there. Some of them we can actually use as a learning material. Again, we don't have to agree fully with what Abu Anis says about water use in agriculture, or we have maybe other viewpoints of what others say in the video. But what is important is to start a conversation, to trigger discussion, and to get people talking about issues and talking about water in a different way from their own personal experience. They don't have to be scientists. They don't have to be water experts, agronomists. They have the knowledge that people have, that have acquired through like generational knowledge about how to store water, rainwater, for example, how to build their own infrastructure, because the state does not really doesn't really listen to their needs and demands. So people really do a lot of adaptations, right? Like in the way they reach water, the way they access it. So we can learn a lot from this knowledge, from giving the voice to people who have been using water maybe longer than a lot of the decision makers that are speaking on their behalf. So this is the idea of the videos. We also went into what is called an ethnographic study. So ethnographic study is also an evidence-based type of research, but it's all about narrating the voices, experiences of the people. So we kind of narrated the history of the Yarmouk River as a river. What does this history in the last 100 years entail? How did it change from a place where people gather, where people find it a refuge place, a place of entertainment and fishing, to today, the reality of it being a border, being a lot of surveillance cameras. Nobody's allowed to reach that river except to have a special permit on the Jordanian side. And kind of all of these great transformations that have happened. And what do they mean? What do they mean to us as researchers, informing decision makers? What does it mean also for us as researchers wanting to communicate those type of stories to journalists, to bloggers, as I mentioned, artists, writers, who we would like to engage with water again as a daily topic, It's not just a scientific topic. It's not just a water security topic. So it's much more than that. Sorry. And basically, so here, like I also in my work start to kind of trying to branch out, and I would like to talk to you more about it, because you have more experience also as journalists, as people who are interested and really involved and active in environmental journalism and media content development, is how can we actually speak about these very difficult topic, transboundary water governance, like these contested river basins that are shared between countries that are basically in conflict with each other, a region that is really water scarce. So I really I put here some ideas that I really liked throughout my research. I always highlight examples where there's a really nice project of the Everyday Nile. And this project is really great because with the hashtag Everyday Nile, you can see a lot of realities of the River Nile, which is shared between 11 countries, so much diversity, so much cultural richness. Water is about music, it's about life, it's about much more than the Renaissance dam, much more about water use. It's much more than that. So we want to kind of make sure that our voices are heard there. And this evidence-based research that we produce reaches out. And we have also challenges. And I hope in the breakout room, we'll be able to discuss a few of those through looking at the cases we looked at. So this is kind of just Hamad Nahir Dijla is another great one. Some artists in Jordan also tried to kind of put the hotspots of the Jordan River. Where does it actually have water scarcity? Where there's enough water? Like they've also did this with an art installation. We can look at literature and see what it can tell us about water and relations with water. And we can also kind of do a recollection of what the Nile looked like for community solidarity, for collective action. So a lot of really interesting avenues that this can take us into, that I thought it would be nice to start this kind of, how do we overcome these challenges of sharing knowledge, of reaching out to the right audiences, what is missing sometimes in the way we produce some materials. Yeah, so this is where I'll stop. I didn't want to, hopefully I didn't take too much time, but kind of, yeah, to motivate and to kind of ask questions and to really, yeah, hear from each other about what do we think, how can we overcome this? Because at the end, I think with our project, we produced really great material. And now we are struggling not struggling, but trying to really find the right audience for them. We don't want to keep speaking to the same people all the time. We want, young, passionate environmentalists to kind of take it on board, see what is missing, come with conversation between us so we can produce this type of material and further promote this so it becomes really a topic of daily discussion and where we can bring water back to the center of our life again. So thank you all. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to the conversation. Cora, we can't hear you. It's you're on mute.
Oh, you just saw me do sign language. Sorry, I was just saying thank you so much. This was very nicely explained, and you didn't go over time at all. So thanks for that. And yeah, so on that note, how do we bring water back to the center of our lives, and how do we get all that amazing research to reach different audiences? I think from talking to you on other occasions, Muna, you talked about two main target audiences for your research, and one of them is the general public, and the other one is decision makers. So with that in mind, obviously, then there are many more audience segments, and we can discuss that in the breakout rooms. But having that in mind, that this the Yarmouk Futures research aims to reach these audiences, in this next activity, we will put you into groups, and we will also give you a mural, which I will show you now. And the idea is to look through, if you haven't already, go through some of the Yarmouk Futures research, which is online, and together kind of discuss what you think, how you think scientific research can reach different audiences more effectively. We've got some guiding questions that we encourage you to use in your discussion. So let me see if I can share this. Can you see my mural sheet? Yeah,
we can.
Amazing, thanks. So over here you'll find the links to the Yarmouk Futures research. So please start by clicking on those and going through it, discussing in your groups what you think of it, and using these guiding questions. Try and using this the Yarmouk Futures research as a case example, try and answer these questions and get post-its. I'm sure you've used Mural already. If you haven't, please let me know. And with these posters, just try and write down whatever pops into your head, whatever you discuss with your colleagues. If you have time, move on to the activity number 2, where we want you to kind of brainstorm what you think works and what doesn't work for you with the current research and how it's presented. And then the idea is for all of us to come back to plenary and exchange, for both groups to just exchange what they found. And yeah, hopefully we can spark an interesting discussion around it. So without further ado, I will be in one group and Hamza will be in the other one. So I'm going to open the groups now and we will share with you the mural link. And we will be back in about 25 minutes. Okay.
I wait here, Cora, right?
Yeah, Hannah, thanks. And Amuna, you're a co-host, so feel free to join
Okay.
any group if you want to.
Yeah, I can. If let's see if
I'm going to go into group 2.
Mariam Hamdi, you should be in group A. Did you receive any kind of prompt to join?
maybe she's moving.
Yeah, it seems to
I've
be
always
frozen.
had that, like people like get frozen.
She's in the group. Hamdi, how are you doing? Hi.
Hello. Yeah, if you
Hello.
can I don't know, I didn't receive like any notifications.
Okay, so check on the bottom of your screen. There should be a button that says breakout rooms.
Yeah. Because I opened from my phone, let me.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, okay.
Yeah.
So you just tap the screen, and then you should receive an option to
Sure. Thank you.
join. Otherwise, I'm gonna unjoin you from the breakout room and then reassign you. So maybe that will work. Anything? Okay, he's gone. Hi, Muna.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Oh, that was I only missed the first half. Unfortunately, I was still caught up in another meeting. But from what I heard, it was really nice.
Thank you.
Good. Okay, so where should we assign you? Let's get started with Group A.
Yeah, and if you want, I can stay there for a bit and then go to Group B.
Exactly. Just don't let them capture you for the entire time.
No, exactly.
Okay. I'm gonna put you in the group. Okay, there we go.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, you should be in there. Okay.
Okay. Oh, we left the rest behind. Malak, you made it with me.
On time.
Yeah. Hi everyone, welcome back. I don't think anyone from the other group is.
I think I was there. I think they're coming, maybe waiting for the timer to.
Oh yeah, just in 5 seconds. Hi again, everyone. So time always seems to go really quickly when we're starting to have interesting conversations, but hopefully you did exchange a little bit and managed to come up with some observations, conclusions. What I suggest we do now is if each group can pick one of the questions that they worked on or that they discussed. I'm aware that there were 5 guiding questions, so it'd be impossible to go through all of them. But if Group A would like to maybe share with us, with the rest of us, one of the questions that you talked about, and what your take from it was. Hamza, maybe you can take the lead.
No, we didn't actually, unfortunately, we didn't discuss. There was a question that was not clear as much, and I was trying to shift from one group to the other, so I might have missed some interaction between the members of the group. But basically, I will just read out the ideas. For the first guiding question, there was idea, if I remember correctly, by Miriam, that we should focus on audiovisual content as an effective medium to make people see, hear, and experience the story that was worked better in her experience. As regarding to the model to choose for working on environmental stories, the platforms with short videos and creative work, like the use of TikTok, because many people love to watch and not read due to the short focus span, and she believes that this can be a great model for present stories that need more attention. There was also the idea for the third question, how to kind of make the readers identify a story as by making it personal and relatable. The use of humor and personal everyday stories, call to action initiatives, and success stories as well make people relate better with their stories. And climate change issues should be firstly the interest of political class and have an electoral stake. And this is only way to put them at the heart of the public debate. For the fourth question, the main idea was the data simplification. As we can have some technical data, complex data, the only way for people not to lose them is to simplify that data. And we stopped at this level. Unless Miriam or anyone else from the team wishes to add anything else.
Yeah, I would like to add, especially for the 40 questions. I think the complex is like our failure is like we are still like talking with the people by using the donors language, not the grassroots language. And this is like our big failure. We still like keeping the English content more than Arabic contents and other like our like the people needs and the people struggling in their MOOC or in the sea, or even like any like source of water, especially in Palestine. We using like the donor language, and we didn't care like about like the grassroots and the people are suffering there. So also like we trying like just like to keep highlight topic, talking from privilege points about the environmental issues, not from like the people suffer and struggling there beside the Yarmouk, beside the Oja river or spring. Yeah, and it's very important, and it's really shame, to be honest.
I don't know who said that, but I think I would like someone else to take up on this. Who was it?
Hamdi.
Hamdi. Oh, Hamdi. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I forget to introduce myself. I'm Hamdi Hatto. I'm civil and environmental engineer studying at Bezet University. I have 40 experience, and I did like internship in Arava Institute for Environment Study.
Thanks, Hamdi. Would
أهلاً.
anyone like to take up on Hamdi's point, which I think is a very interesting one, and one that we're confronted with a lot, especially when doing these sessions, and what language shall we choose?
Yeah. Can I say a few things? Yeah, no, Hamdi, this is a great point, to be honest. And this is something we also dealt with in our project. Of course, it's a donor-funded project. It's been going on since 2015, 16. And this part of the project, like for instance, the part that we produced the videos, for example, or when we did the ethnographic study in Arabic and other things, these were really geared towards shifting away from that focus. Maybe the video content is not really policy relevant, let's say, or that it's not really the donor's priority at the moment, but I think it was really highly appreciated by everyone, including the donors themselves, because it was a chance to, as you said, like speak about the needs, about the lived experience of people. How do they see the changes that are happening in relation to their access to resources? And I think this is really has been missed for so long, because we really focus on developing our project, writing our proposal, even presenting our findings in a way that will attract donors and donor money. And I think, of course, that is very, very problematic. And a lot of projects are trying to change that by including, activities like that, or by even shifting away from all of that discourse and producing very relevant material or very relevant knowledge without donor. These things don't also require a lot of donor money. If you're actually wanting to speak to people, to understand their perspective, their knowledge, their expertise, it can be done with very low budget. So I think, we should overcome this kind of burden all the time, or this constraint that we have to speak a donor language. And this is what we also try to do. Miriam also raised this point about Arabic language, and the idea to produce knowledge in Arabic. It's still a very big struggle for a project like ours, because we want to reach a bigger audience. So we find that even our centers, the Water Diplomacy Center that we initiated and started as part of the project, still speaks in it's English. The website is in English. Then we put a few Arabic content, but I think that should also definitely change if you want to confront those realities and make sure people are involved in this conversation and debates about environmental issues. So it's a great point. Thank you, Hamdi.
Thanks, Muna. Sarah has her hand up. You'd like to say something, Sarah?
Sure, thank you. I would like to second Dr. Muna again. Maybe it's a bit different than journalism, but I've been working on several projects funded by international agencies. And part of our work basically is environmental communication and stakeholder engagement. So eventually we do have to issue the documents in English, but we also work on them in Arabic. And working with Jordanian municipalities, we always focus on producing material that is in Arabic, and even the funding agency in Jordan, they work on producing media in different, so that in Arabic, so that they can actually reach out to the community and the municipal staff as well. So I think different people work in different organizations or agencies. Maybe it would take a little bit of time when you have the entire material in English, which is most common, or it's more common. And then you can dedicate some time for producing Arabic material, especially that it is not really easy to translate scientific terms. And I think Dr. Muna would agree on that when it comes to, terminology and everything. So I think a lot of work needs to be done, not just on the journalism part when it comes to science, but also different sectors. I think the legislations we have in Arabic are a good starting point, and we can build on that. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Sarah. Just because I'm wary of time, and this is such an interesting topic, but I would like to kind of shift towards another topic that we've been discussing in our group. And maybe someone from my group B, wants to take the lead, but mainly on the question on how do we communicate complex environmental topics without losing the reader's engagement. and how do we translate scientific content to make it more accessible to the general reader. We came up with some interesting observations, so maybe Liz or Yassine or Malak or Wala, if anyone else in our team would like to take over. And yeah, mainly one of the main things that we talked about was that there should be more overlap between scientific authors and journalists, and more collaboration between them to make the work easier for the journalist and to also make the content more engaging. So if Yassine, maybe you want to repeat what you pointed out earlier, which was a very good observation.
Yeah, yeah, of course, exactly. It was the idea like to have like a link and work together with the scientists and journalists, because as it was said by Dr. Mona, that always, and not always, but journalists give more importance to big event. They report that, but it still have some important topic covered by the scientific community that is still also important, and we can find just articles maybe in ResearchGate on other platforms. This is the first thing, that there are other environmental topics that are interesting, but they are not covered by journalists. Secondly, it's like when it comes to article purely scientific, sometimes it contains figures, statistic data that not easy to interpret. That's why I suggest, why not, to ask, to contact by email the author of this work, and he can write, as he writes, like an simplified abstract with some data and some numbers. He can also write one more simplified, maybe targeted to journalists. And as a scientist also sometimes, as explained, that we have more data that we cannot publish in the journal, in the scientific format, but I can share with journalists some statistics, some surveys. Sometimes we respect the instructor, author of some journals, and we keep some important, and we need that also communicated. So why not write a simplified way and communicate it? So and also how we discussed also how the journalists can be aware of what is happening also in the research field. So we need some maybe platform. We need when we can bring all this effort together, really to demystify the message for people. You said that, hello, do you hear me?
You cut off for a second, but you're back, I think.
Okay, just I have one simple question for
Yassine, maybe if you turn your camera off, it might work better.
You say that sometimes people, maybe I have some trouble in, maybe. Did you hear me now?
Can you repeat the question?
Okay, I will repeat it. Now you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I have a question for Dr. Mona, that you said that people they don't know really the details of the agreement, and I was wondering the fact to explain the details of the agreement to people on what that will be helpful for them.
Yeah, thank you, Yassine. Yeah, like that's I think one of the like challenges is to kind of provide that information in a very clear way. We want, and I think one thing that I have in mind is to how to kind of do a visual story of the agreements. You know, what happened, the history, what are the things that, let's say, Syria and Jordan agreed to, why does it fail, and what's the problem, and then kind of put the analysis of the experts who are working with us. So yeah, like I think this is definitely something we need to kind of talk about, because, for instance, we did a survey for the community members, and we also kind of just we researched all of the news articles that were written about the agreement. All of them are copy-paste of each other, and they all don't have content, they don't have analysis, and it's really, you think, oh, there's so much written about it, but people would come and with the basic question, like, I've never seen the agreement, for instance. I live in the basin, but I've never seen what this agreement is about. So one of our suggestions as well for like future work is to kind of do community sessions, you know, kind of like sitting together, sharing those agreements, and having the experts, as you said, like the scientists, the experts being there to kind of start this dialogue and say, okay, this agreement looks like this, and these are the problems of that agreement. This is how we can make it better with science, with diplomacy, with international law, and all of that. So I think this is one thing that we would like to, when we inspire to work on it with the journalists and with community organizers and you know, farmers who are very influential as well in the basin. So this is something that we were thinking about for future work as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks a lot. We're going to have to wrap up now because we've already gone over time a bit. But I'm just going to ask you if you have anything you would like to share with the community. If anyone has anything they would like to quickly share, if they've got any work, any published material that they would like to share with everyone else, please do so. Or raise your hand and I will go back to you. I also wanted to, we don't have a date. Oh, Sarah.
Sorry. Okay. I was just wondering if we could have access to like different media papers written on gender and water management, since you've already covered this in a different session.
Yes, so I could put you, are you writing a piece on it? Is it something you're trying to get information?
Yeah, I want to write a piece about that, but I would like to like see different examples. Yeah, can get a better idea probably. Yeah, definitely. I will message you privately and try and put you in touch with our guest speaker from that session. Did you attend the menstrual health session? No, unfortunately not. Okay, well, one thing I can do is send you the recording that we had on that session, which talks a lot about reporting on gender issues, and then try and put you in touch with someone who could provide you with a lot of resources. Great. And then just before I go back to you, Muna, we don't have a date for the next session, but if I can encourage you all while we're trying to sort out when it would be good for everyone to meet, since what we're trying to do here is have a space for you and for it to be community-led, so just have a space where we can continue these interesting conversations, but also you taking the lead. I'm going to share with you a mural page where we can start jotting down some ideas of what we envision this community to look like, what structure we think would work best, what topics we think would be more interesting to cover, basically how we can use this 1 hour as effectively as possible. So
if you have 2 seconds between now and when we meet next, it would be great if you could jot down some ideas in this mural page. And unless anyone else has something to share, Muna, your hand is up.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I think, I don't know if the name, I'm going to pronounce it right, Lizzie, or she asked, yeah, Billy, Billy's. Yeah, I can send the list of the initiatives I mentioned in that one of the last slides. I have most of them, but one I have to just get it from an archive I have. But yeah, I can share it with Cora, and yeah, it would be great to, I'll share it with you. And I wanted to say as well that we're also looking, if you find any of that work inspiring or that requires a bit of a different push that you'd like kind of to, you know, work on one of the videos and kind of try to explain, you know, I don't know, issues that were not raised in the video, or just a blog, or whatever you think can be helpful, we'd be happy to hear from you as part of the Water Diplomacy Center. So please also, yeah, like reach out to me if you have any ideas or great concepts that we can work with. We'll definitely love to collaborate.
Amazing. And please use the WhatsApp group. You know, right now Sarah has you know, needs to be put in touch with someone who might have some resources about a specific topic. You know, if you are in the WhatsApp group, if you're not and you would like to be, please let me know. But don't be shy. You know, we have, between all of us, we have a huge network. So let's use it and share it. And Malak.
So I was just thinking, because the work done on the Yarmouk project is incredible. It tackles so many aspects, and I personally I work on environmental policy, but mainly water politics. So I did my thesis on water politics in Libya. So I feel kind of resonated with the project. Although the work done that you did, Dr. Muna, is very detailed, and it has different aspects. So I was wondering, like, maybe for another mean of sharing the project and the results, I think an exhibition. We always forget when we do academic research, or like especially when it's policy centered or social centered, that, you know, art could be used in a sense to be translated. I mean, the videos are great, but also maybe an exhibition on the history of the river basin. I think this would attract more people within the community to learn more and understand. Also, if it was transformed into a movie, I think it could be very impactful. As I said, I think we tend to separate art and academic research, but I think it all links to social issues that we address, especially when it's on a political level, because it comes from the society and to the society. So to translate it, or to translate even different aspects of the project, whether into an exhibition or even like podcasts and so on, like there are different means to share with the public. So yeah, I just wanted to share this before we finish.
A very great point. Thank you, Malak. Would love to find a chance to talk about it more. But I do agree, this is kind of the next step for kind of blending the knowledge production and visualization of our findings in different ways, especially in the world we live in today, you know, where it's really all about the image. And we have that rich material and data. So no, that's a great point. Thank you.
And guys, I just wanted to share, I already shared it in the chat, but I will send it again. It's the second international conference on environmental peace building. And it's taking place from the 1st to the 4th of February, and it has a lot of different sessions going throughout the whole day. A lot of them are related to water. Some transboundary water, some tackle the role of gender, environmental peace building, and others. There are panels, roundtable discussions, trainings, So yeah, feel free to check it and register for the sessions that you find interesting. Yeah, that's it for me.
Great. Thanks so much, Hamza. Sorry for going over time, but thank you so much for staying with us. And I will send you some of the information that we've talked about. And then hopefully we can have a session very soon if you would like to. And yeah, we'll stay in touch through the WhatsApp. If you're not part of the WhatsApp and you would like to join, let me know. And thanks again. And thanks a lot, Muna, for your great, insightful information.
Thank you so much, Cora, for getting this organized and for putting it together. It's really great. I learned so much, and I would love to stay posted and keep in touch with all of you. Please stay in touch, and looking forward to hear about your great work.
Yeah, we'll meet again here soon, hopefully.
Yeah, please.
Let's make it happen.
As well, and Hannah and everyone.
And like I said, please, don't be shy giving me your ideas of how you think we can make this community practice better and more beneficial to all of you. So yeah, thank you.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thanks so much.
Hi, thank you.
So much.
Thank you. Goodbye. Thank you so much.